Joe Linton is set to sign a new 4-year deal with Newcastle United. The Newcastle owners may be looking at moving St James's Park as opposed to expanding it, and Newcastle win their first home game since December. Welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly-ish roundup of Newcastle United news. It has been a while since the last one. It has been pretty busy for me. I'm actually in the middle of moving house right now. I've got all sorts of clutter all over the shop, but it's good to be back. The sun is shining, the birds are tweeting, and Newcastle won a home game. Happy days, well celebrated on Saturday night. If you guys did miss that video on Saturday, be sure to go and check it out. And if you are new, or maybe you watch all of my videos but are yet to hit that subscribe button, then please do. We are just around the corner from 50,000 subscribers, which is insane. It's free. It costs nothing. If you press the button, it just means you're notified of all of my future videos. And as I say, I feel like quite a lot of positivity in the air, so I'm hoping to be making a few more videos very soon. And we will talk a little bit about that game on Saturday, taking on Wolves, which a few people walked into a little bit apprehensive. Gary O'Neill's been doing a decent job at Wolves. You know, they were, contending for European spots. You know, they've kind of had that feel-good factor that maybe Newcastle had last season or earlier this season that we've kind of lacked a little bit of recently. As I mentioned, I was shocked when the guy behind me said that the last time we'd won at home was December. And look, we have had some tough games in there, but we have also had some games that really you can't expect anything in the Premier League, but I think you should be winning. So, to come out with a big 3-0 win, Joe Willock, wow, how good is he? How good is it to have him back in the side? Fabian Shaw, anyone? How good is he? You know, setting up goals, keeping a clean sheet for the first time in ages. There was loads of positivity to come out of that one. And what we want now is to just take it and run with it. Take us to those European spots. Take us to Wembley, if possible. Because that's the thing. We may have done well on Saturday. We've got some tough games coming up. It's Chelsea away on Monday night in the Premier League. We've mentioned it before, games against Wolves, games that we didn't win against Luton, Bournemouth. We're coming into a streak now with Palace game got cancelled, but them, West Ham, Chelsea, teams who are kind of in that middle area of where we are that we want to try and pull away from. So I think Chelsea Monday night will be tough, but we hopefully can take something from that. And then Man City, that's right. Newcastle have drawn another away game, another tough side in a cup draw. Yeah. Even Man City at home, but away, I think will be very tough. But if we can't do it, it's back to Wembley. So fingers crossed the lads can put it in. And it's not just been on the pitch where all the news is coming from at the moment, a lot of it off the pitch as well. Joe Linton, the man who Eddie Howe alluded to the possibility of selling him this summer window. I mean, it sounds crazy to say it. There's obviously been a lot of talk on if Newcastle want to buy, they've got to sell, but this is kind of out of that conversation. It's to do with the fact that Joe Linton's contract is coming to a close. It's runs out a year in the summer. And these days, you know what it's like, players sometimes do opt to run their contracts down in order to maybe make a move to another club where they can take some money. And it doesn't seem that Joe Linton wants to go. It would just appear that both him and the club had different ideas of maybe how much he's getting paid. Appears to be the one. But funnily enough, following the, departure, not quite yet, Dan Ashworth heading out on garden leave, it's understood that Amanda Staveley has taken charge of contract negotiations between Newcastle United and Joe Linton, and that they are nearing an agreement. I think Eddie Howe wants Joe Linton to stay. I think Joe Linton wants to stay. I think the club wants to stay. I think the fans want Joe Linton to stay. You talk about how good Joe Willock was on Monday night. we've got a great mix of players in there. Don't get me wrong. I think Longstaff's great, although he has been having some tough games. I think Miley is obviously fantastic, but it's trying to knit who plays best with who. And I just think having a player like Willock frees Bruno up, having a player like Joe Linton can free Bruno up, and then if Willock's in, then Longstaff can do the nitty gritty, and then I think Joe Linton is just one of those players that just really helps round off our midfield. And you talk about letting Joe Linton go. To go out and buy, a player of Joe Linton's quality will cost us, tenfold, however extra he wants on top of his contract. So it's worth giving him it. And if the reports are true, it looks like Newcastle could be offering Joe Linton $100,000 a week for the next 4 years. Now, how much everybody's on, we don't exactly know. I think Joe Linton probably would have been on 60, 70. And they're looking at a Bruno and an Isak. Botman? Don't know. On around close to 100, 120. And they reckon that Joe Linton wanted to be up there with the rest of them. Now, don't get me wrong. Joe Linton has gone out and been amazing. And probably proved he's just as worthy as some of those players. So yeah, fingers crossed it gets over the line. Joe Linton signs his new deal and he will be playing at St James's Park for a lot longer. But which St James's Park and where will it be? Because that is the big question that's kind of floating through the media at the moment, and it is what's happening with St James's Park. And look, this conversation has been going on for the last 2 years, over 2 years, probably even longer, to be honest, but it's really hit the forefront when the new owners came in, and the conversations around, look at the Sam Fender concert, you look at Newcastle getting matches for the Euros, they're playing Bosnia in a few months' time for England in a friendly. They want to do a lot more. They want to do a lot more with the stadium outside of football. They want to do a lot more with football, and trying to stick with Newcastle United on this one. Ticket sales are tough. Everyone's trying to get in. Everybody wants a ticket, and because of that, Newcastle are technically speaking losing money every match day because they can't provide the seats to the amount of people who want one. Now, the main focus coming out of the owners and of Newcastle United has always been, we want to extend, we want to expand. Darren Eales has spoken about it, the viability study of how Newcastle can kind of basically do whatever they can to increase the capacity so that they don't have to move. For me, someone was talking to me about this and the idea of moving and what happens next, and I think the big thing is nobody knows what's going to happen. But to win, for example, our first cup at St James's Park, with Eddie Howe, with, some of the guys who've been through the tough times, like a Lascelles, like a Dubravka, and it's not to say that we can't do it with that squad, it might take that little bit longer, but lifting that cup in that St James's Park Stadium, I think is massive. I understand we're stepping into a new era and things are looking like they may have to change in order to progress the club. You look at Arsenal, I don't think they wanted to leave Highbury, but they did it, they got the bigger stadium, and I still do believe that Newcastle will do what they can to extend the stadium. But the problem is this is the conversation we've been having for 2 years, and still nobody has really found a way. The one for me, and I know people have seen it, and I've already seen people criticise it, but Leazes Park. And I get it, because Leazes Park's been there a long time. It was probably there before any footballs were kicked at St James's. But Leazes Park has got, an abandoned building in it, these days. It's not quite as pretty and as picturesque as once it could have been. And I do think, is there an opportunity where Newcastle can go, look, let us take over the park. Well, because that's the thing, it wouldn't be to totally lose. It would lose some space, but you would gain back the space that was on the original St James's. So it would basically be a stadium in a park, which would actually be really good. And Newcastle could take over the maintenance, cutting the grass, planting the flowers, a kids' park, tennis courts, five-a-side pitches. Imagine if Newcastle was able to facilitate all of that for the council. Look, don't worry about that blooming abandoned building anymore. We'll knock that down. We'll sort it out. We'll change it into a cafe. There's loads. Whether that can happen, I don't. And look, I don't think it's going to be easy and probably not happen. That's why everyone's looking over at the Metro Radio. That land's already owned by somebody else for building houses, which, to be honest, I think is having trouble with because of past industry on the site, which doesn't allow residential buildings and all that kind of jazz. For me, it's all about location. If Newcastle can, slightly tweak how St James's is in terms of is it facing this way, is it facing that way, in order to keep the location, I'm more on board with it. It's when you start talking about, well, if we want it to be this massive stadium that will facilitate concerts and this and that, well, to have all that and have the parking space, we're going to have to move it out the city. I think you just lose. I think you lose. St James's is St James's, and it has its love from the fans, but I think one of the unique, certainly one of the most unique points of that stadium is its location. And if you take it and move it somewhere totally different, I would even go as, yes, along the quayside would be lovely, but even there is just that little bit further out of the city centre. You let me know your thoughts down below. It's one that's going to keep going on. I feel like the narrative's changing though. And if you're a big fan of St James's and you do not want to leave, that isn't good, because it's kind of gone from we're going to do everything we can. It's like, well, it's been 2 years and nothing's happened yet, so what's going on? I just feel like that narrative slowly changing on what could happen is now becoming a, what might happen with the move. So you let me know your thoughts on that stadium talk down in the comments. What's your thoughts on Joe Linton? Are you happy to see Newcastle win at home? And I will be back later this week to talk a little bit more about the Chelsea game, and hopefully we can get a win down there on a Monday night. Thank you for watching, guys. As always, hope you have enjoyed Toon Tuesdays. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that big button. It changes colour every day. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Thank you all for watching, as always, and I'll catch you later.